What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of 104.3 The Fans Coffee Break. Will Petersen filling in for Rachel Behill this morning as she is on assignment. Pleased to be joined by my guy, Zach By, half of Stokely and Zach, midday show on 104.3 The Fan, but been doing the mornings the last couple of days. Zach, how's that gone? How's the alarm been in the wee hours of the morning?
It rings rather early. I'm not used to it. The alarm's going off, and I'm like going to my wife, like, shut the alarm off. Like, no, it's your alarm. You need to get up for work. So it's an adjustment, but no complaints here.
Nice. Well, you guys sounded good. Love tuning in the last couple of days, and I think everything will sort of be back to normal tomorrow, so to speak. Will be good to have Stink back after he underwent surgery. Glad to see he's doing well.
I actually just spoke to him on the phone a couple minutes ago. He's in super high spirits and really anxious to get back. So I'm looking forward to hearing him sort of tell his story tomorrow morning.
Sure. So you guys will gladly go back to the 11 to 2 slot tomorrow and for the rest of the week. And what's Stoke got going on? Like, where's he headed this week? Is he headed to San Fran for Nuggets Warriors or something? Or he's got to have the next trip planned, right?
Actually, you want to know what's funny? He's been on a whirlwind. I mean, from being the first round of the NCAA tournament, Final Four, Masters, he's been everywhere. But after hanging out with him a little bit yesterday, we had a chance to golf, and he's like, I'm ready to just be home for a while. So I know we all kind of get like that. We're traveling, and it's cool, but at the same time, it's also really cool to just be home. So yeah. I think he's looking forward to it.
No doubt. All right, Zach. Well, let's get into it. The Colorado Rockies are off to a 3-1 start, and Jose Iglesias has been a big part of that. The new shortstop goes 4 for 5 yesterday. Rockies get a 6-4 win. We can talk a little bit about how the game ended. I want to hear your thoughts on that. A walk-off review, I guess, sort of rare in baseball. You don't see that every day. But they get a 6-4 win in 10 innings. They take a series against the Dodgers. They're now leading the NL wildcard race, which, I tweeted and posted on our Instagram today a little bit in jest. I don't think people got that, just like I don't think people understood your tweet yesterday about them being undefeated on the road. But snark aside, it's a good start to the season for these Rockies. Your impressions 4 games in.
Well, the Rockies, as you know, Will, are an assumed doormat. Not only are they assumed doormat, it's almost like they're wearing that on their forehead. You know what I mean? It's and there's a difference. Like, the Rockies have crossed into this territory where the fan base is almost to the point where I don't want to say hate watching, okay, but it feels like it's that sort of vibe that even if you're passionate about the Rockies, you're upset. And I get it. I understand it. I'm willing to just give this group a try. That's where I'm at. And I was kind of going back and forth with you and James down there opening day at Chop House saying, well, let's see these guys play before we throw dirt on their grave. Are they going to be really good? Are they going to be a wild card contender in 3 weeks, let alone 3 months? Probably not. But at the same time, can we just sort of watch? And here we are, 4 games in. They're 3-1. Can't start much better than that. And, a question I asked Stokely this morning that I think it's rhetorical for our listeners and viewers here, and you, Will, is if I asked you at the Chop House on opening day what the longest winning streak for the Rockies would be this season, I don't know if you asked me that, Will, I would have probably said 4 or 5 games. And here they are with a chance to go on a 4-game winning streak tonight and sweep the Rangers. I know it's a mini series, but whatever. I think the fact that we're having this conversation is sort of a testament to the intrigue with the baseball team.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you're right. I couldn't have imagined getting them past, probably 4 or 5 games. That's fair for this team. Before we move on from the Rockies, I do want to hit on something I heard you and Stoke talking about this morning, and that's going to be kind of unsung heroes of this team. A name I heard you guys bring up was Connor Joe. He now has 2 home runs, including 1 in extra innings yesterday. Between him and Iglesias, even CJ Crone to some extent, he's unheralded. He's got some pop, and we saw that last year. But do you think this group can scrap together a 500 season, or is that just way too much to ask after a 3-1 start?
No, I don't think it's too much to ask. Now, someone may disagree with the Rockies being 500, but we've seen them traditionally play well at home. Their starting pitching is pretty good. Their bullpen is a big question mark, but Daniel Bard already has passed a big early test. They're not household names, but we've seen other organizations patchwork their way without household names. The Tampa Bay Rays come to mind immediately. But I use this analogy from time to time on the air. I spent 2 summers working construction when I was younger, my early 20s. And once in a while, there'd be this object on the job site, and we were masons, and I was a laborer. And there'd be this object that was too heavy for 1 or 2 guys to lift. And the boss would say, hey, we got a team lift. That means drop what you're doing, go grab a corner of this really heavy thing that is too heavy for 1 or 2 guys, and we're going to lift it together. And that's the Rockies right now. Connor Joe, CJ Crone, Chris Bryant, Ryan McMahon, Brandon Rogers. Like, it's going to take everyone for the Rockies to have a win for every game that they lose and end up 500. But early returns are pretty good. We've seen CJ Crone. Again, we only have 4 games to work with, okay? So it's a small sample size, but that's what we have. CJ Crone was a massive surprise last year, signed a 1-year, $1 million deal. Now he's back, and he's got to duplicate what he did a season ago. Is he off to a good start? I'd say so. I saw him hit one to the moon over the weekend. Chris Bryant off to a pretty good start. Ryan McMahon, first 2 games, really good. You mentioned Iglesias. Connor Joe. Connor Joe hit a late inning home run on Saturday evening. I think it was in the 8th. Yep. Yesterday, he hits one in extras. Like, look, do they have household names? They don't. But I think with the starting pitching being solid and the bullpen just being competent, maybe they can do what a lot of people don't think they can do. And I'm not even sure I believe they can do it. I mean, I try to play devil's advocate and try to be positive. Do I really believe they're going to be a 500 baseball team? Right now, no. But let's talk this time next week. Let's see what they do tonight against the Rangers. Let's see, they're going to come home against the Cubs for a 4-game stand. Like, let's see, use our eyes, use our brain, and come to the conclusion instead of writing the story's ending before we're done with the preface.
Yeah, no doubt. Listen, I'd much rather them be 3-1 than 1-3, right? Like, at least there's a little bit of excitement there, right? Like, if they can get us to Broncos training camp, that's always kind of the joke around here. I will certainly take it. All right, let's move on into the meat of this coffee break, and that is the Nuggets and the Warriors. Zach Bai, obviously one of our hoops experts, if not the hoops expert at 104.3 The Fan. Zach, I wrote a blog yesterday, denverfan.com. The odds makers expect the Warriors to take care of the Nuggets and think the first-round series could be a short one. Got some numbers for you here. The Warriors are minus 240 to win this series, meaning if you don't understand that, if you put 240 on the Warriors, you'd only get $100 back if they took care of business. Nuggets, meanwhile, plus 194. So if you put 100 on the Nuggets, you'd win 194. Long way of saying the Warriors are expected to win this series and maybe rather quickly. The favorite for number of games played is 5, with the Warriors winning it 4-1. I mean, the Nuggets to win this series, even in 6, is their favorite, and that's plus 600. That is a long shot for them to win it 4-2. Where are the odds makers right on this? Where are they possibly wrong on this? It's Tuesday. Not going to ask you for a prediction for a series that starts on Saturday, but just your initial thoughts on this matchup. And were you surprised that the Nuggets checked in as such long shots from the wise guys in Vegas?
No, not surprised at all, Will, and have talked about this on the show, talked about it on the podcast. The Nuggets collectively as a group are not a very good basketball team, in my opinion. A win against the JV Lakers 2 weeks back, 1 weekend back. Really, this group, Will, it's like there's Jokic and there's everyone else. And when I say that, I'm not trying to be rude or dismissive, because I think the everyone else could play valuable roles when knocked back down to their initial role. Asking Aaron Gordon over the course of a whole season, who's really a number 4 option, to try to be a number 2 option. from Will Barton, who really should be coming off the bench for a team that has the title aspirations, to be your third option and oftentimes the second option, to ask Austin Rivers to be a starter. I mean, you could go through guy by guy. Monte Morris, who I love, really should be, with title aspirations, be your backup point guard. So I think that the odds makers got it right. And if it was any more move towards the Nuggets' favor, I think there'd be real value on the Warriors. They have 3 Hall of Famers who have, had ups and downs. You have Klay Thompson, who's really playing for the first time major minutes in multiple seasons. Steph has been in and out of the lineup, and he's sort of a wait and see, although I think he's going to play. And Draymond's been in and out of the lineup. So the collection of those 3, while have had imperfect seasons, when the going gets tough, this is a group that can look at each other and say, yeah, we've all been here. Like, we've all done this and more. And this collection, this rendition of the 2022 Nuggets just doesn't have that. And, you just boil it down simply like this, and you laid out the odds. Like, could I see the Denver Nuggets beating the Warriors 4 times over the course of 12 days? No. I could see Jokic dragging them across the finish line to a game or 2. Do I see him beating them 3 times? If I'm being candid, I don't. Now, let me say this, though. These Nuggets have a particular strand in their DNA helix that over the last 3 seasons, every single time you count them out, they show to be the best version of themselves. And if they have the best player in the series in Nikola, you can sort of use your imagination and, hey, if they catch a green light here, the guys hit threes, because they're going to it's going to be one of 2 things. They're going to send doubles and triples at Jokic, or they're going to do everything in their power to prevent him from getting the basketball. And you can do that from an assortment of ways. But if they can't get Jokic the basketball on a regular basis, which it sounds funny maybe to a layman, like, what do you mean? You just get him the basketball. Well, we've seen it's harder than it sounds this season. And that's been a technique that's been pretty effective in large part throughout the season. So I don't know what they're going to do, but you're going to ask those same guys that you asked to play over their heads for a whole season, do it for a whole series. And, if you're asking me to pick, I have to balk at that a little bit.
So I talked about this yesterday. I was actually a guest on your show where James Maryland and Kyle Reese were filling in. I didn't understand why people were so about if they got the Mavericks or if they got the Warriors. Like, it seemed like people were pretty like, oh, those are kind of even. And I'm like, Luka Doncic has never won a playoff series in his life. He's a great player, but Jokic has won 4 playoff series. Doncic has never won 1. Steph, Klay, and Draymond have 3 rings, each of them, so 9 combined. And, oh, by the way, Zach, there's no star power left in the West. Like, Phoenix, it's still a small market. They may have stars, but they're not a team the league wants to put into primetime. Like, they can't have a second round of the Suns, the Grizzlies, the Nuggets, and the Jazz. Like, that would be a disaster for the NBA. They want the Warriors to keep playing on. Like, it's a little tinfoil hat, a little conspiracy theory, but isn't it critical for the league that the Warriors keep playing? And could the whistle get really frustrating in this series, especially early on for the Nuggets? Like, I just think that they may be playing 5-on-8. It may be them 5 versus the Warriors 5 and the 3 refs on some nights. And maybe I'm laying the groundwork for excuses out too early, but I thought drawing the Mavs would have been so much better than getting these Warriors.
Well, I'm not going to say that what you just laid out there doesn't have any credence, because if the NBA had their way, yes, they would have a major market like San Francisco with championship pedigree and name identity move on. At the same time, I do feel like we're in a different place than the 2002 Kings-Lakers series. You look at this league right now where the reigning champion is out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and led by someone from Greece. I mean, things are just changing in that regard. While I don't disagree that they'd be maybe doing a little toast at the league office because Steph and the Warriors move on, I don't think Steph and the Warriors need the 3 officials. I think they're a better basketball team with real pedigree. They got still the 2 of the 3 best shooters in the world playing for the same team, with one of the best defensive players we've seen in league history in Draymond Green. And, you look at some of the other pieces, like their others outside of those 3 are not Will Barton and Austin Rivers. You're talking about guys that are real players an all-star even in Wiggins. So I just I think the Nuggets are a little bit outmanned. I would love to see this series with a healthy Nuggets team against this Warriors team. I would feel great, and you can be sure those odds would be a lot different if even a healthy Jamal Murray was available to them, and let alone a Michael Porter Jr. In addition. So this year, I've been calling it, Will, the year before the year since the 10th game of the season when Michael Porter Jr. went down. And I think this is going to be this season, while commendable and really impressive that they won 48 games, I think their season is coming to an end here in the next 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, I agree with you there. All right, let's move on. Some more Nuggets news in the last half hour or so. Nikola Jokic has been named the Western Conference Player of the Month for the second time this year. Giannis Antetokounmpo gets the honors in the Eastern Conference. Zach, to me, this signifies that the MVP race is over. You know, I think of Vince Carter in the dunk contest 20 years ago looking at the camera and saying, it's over. This award for Jokic, your thoughts on that this morning, but on a broader scale, has he now locked up the MVP for a second straight year?
I think he has. And, you know, just an aside, we were just talking about the state of the NBA. Think about that. You just had those two players. One is named Nikola Jokic, and the other one is Giannis Antetokounmpo. It's my belief that in less than 10 years' time, every other player in the NBA will be of international variety. We'll see how that ages, but it's certainly trending in that direction. But yeah, Will, Vince Carter gift, it's over. It's over. We're seeing the early returns on the ballots be in favor of Jokic, and it's about maybe 6 out of every 10 right now have Jokic in first place. And if you don't have Jokic in first place, you likely have him in second place. And the staggering and order of these things matter when you add up all the points. It's Jokic's. It's Jokic's. It's Ben Jokic's. You can look at any metric you want, and this idea that Jokic's MVP campaign is reduced down to advanced stats is just dumb. I mean, when you're talking about a guy who's, what is he averaging, 26, 13, and 8 or whatever it is, and 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, 500 assists for the first time. He doesn't have 2 of his 3 best players that won 48 games. If you want to look at the advanced stats, they'll tell you he's having the greatest season of all time. So in my opinion, like you look at like 4 different areas, 4 different legs of a chair to build an MVP argument. The raw numbers, they're eye-popping. Top 10 in points, rebounds, and assists. He's the only one doing that. The advanced numbers are insane. Their PER, best season of all time, over LeBron, Wilt, Jordan. Then you look at the context of what the team has accomplished without 2 of their 3 best scorers. That's the 3rd leg of the chair. And then the 4th leg is just the eye test. We've never seen a player diagnose a basketball game the way that Nikola does. So, for those 4 reasons, I think he's got the most solid argument, and the voters are speaking that same sort of truth.
Well laid out, Zach. I like it. All right, so the Broncos were back in the building yesterday. We actually have our first media availability today in about 2 hours here. But the team tweeted out a video of the Broncos kind of coming back to Dove Valley. We'll play the whole thing for you here, Zach, while we sort of talk through it. You've got Russell Wilson, you've got Pat Surtain II, Justin Simmons. Does it feel like to you, like I heard Mike Kliss talking about it with you guys this morning, the Russell Wilson effect, that these guys all want to be here? I mean, KJ Hamler, Dalton Reisner, like we're not missing any names, it feels like. In just a minute here, you're going to see Bradley Chubb, and then you're going to see him and Garrett Bowles embrace. And, Garrett Bowles and Bradley Chubb got in a well-documented fight last year at training camp. There's that embrace right there. Does it just feel like, even though it's mid-April, because Russell Wilson is in the building, that the Broncos are taking these quote-unquote voluntary workouts that much more seriously?
I think it's a big part of this here. I do. And it's unspoken. It's not like he's getting on the horn and saying, hey, I'm going to be there. Make sure you're there. When you have an alpha dog in the room, he doesn't need to announce that he's an alpha dog. Russell Wilson is a bona fide Hall of Fame quarterback. And if he's going to take this offseason as seriously as he already has, and he's let you know about 5 different times how seriously he's taking the offseason, you just sort of better fall in line. Justin Simmons was not at OTAs last year. Kareem Jackson was not at OTAs last year. Now, someone could say, well, it was COVID stuff. If you remember actually how that went down, it wasn't because of COVID. But be that as it may, they're all back now. And I just think, in addition to being back, this is a lax time of year for these guys. They're working out, they're doing some install stuff. They're not like out on the field or anything. But I just think the attention to detail is going to be very, very heightened because of who now is the head of the snake. And I talked to someone within the Broncos. I mentioned this on air a week or two ago, who was here for the Tebow and Manning, and now how it's been, and was still here now. He said it feels like a modern day Manning just walked in the building, where you heard for years about even the cooks and the people in the cafeteria. They felt this like heightened awareness to do a great job, because that's where the standard was. It feels like that transformation is happening at Dove Valley. And one of my number one criticisms of the Broncos through the last 5 years is that the culture has been terrible, stinks, bad culture, bad, and it erodes very, very quickly. You can work hard to, sort of like a reputation, and it can go away like that. It has eroded to a point where it feels like only a Russell Wilson, Peyton Manning type walking in there can just say, hey, it's unspoken. Follow me. Get behind me. And it feels like that's happening right now.
No doubt. Very cool to see everyone back. Headed down to Dove Valley here in a couple hours. I guess UC Health Training Center. We'll certainly pass along any relevant updates. D-Mac and Cecil Lammy will be there as well. So that's exciting to, get back into the flow of things. Like, we've had a couple press conferences, but they've been the big deal, the free agent. This will be more the nitty-gritty day-to-day, sort of see how these workouts have gone so far. All right, speaking of working out, moving on to the Avalanche, Gabriel Landeskog not skating yet, according to head coach Jared Bednar. Mike Chambers from the Denver Post reported that yesterday. But he did say Landeskog is still due back for the playoffs. Zach, we've got 10 games left in this Avalanche season, playoffs about 3.5 weeks out. We talked about this with Jamal Murray. Like, how important was it for him to get a game 2-3 under his belt? We now know that did not happen. The odds of him playing feel, slimmer and slimmer by the day. With Landeskog, how important will it be for him to skate a couple times? The Avalanche's captain before a potential first-round series against, maybe a Vegas or a Dallas, like a team they should beat, but still maybe not a slam dunk 8-1 like it is in the NBA.
Yeah, I think it's a relevant question. I don't think that the Avalanche could be so, and I'm not saying they are, but you don't want to be so arrogant and say, hey, that first round is a breeze, like the Flames coach said, right? It's going to be a waste. It's going to be a waste of 14 days or whatever he said. No, I don't think you can approach it like that. I think your focus has to be laser pointed. And I think 2 to 3 games for Gabe, I think, would suffice. It's different from the Jamal conversation because Jamal hadn't played at all, like missed the entire season, and you were going to try to reintegrate him from scratch. A little bit different with Gabe here. But I do still, on the heels of me saying that, I do think it's important. I think 2 to 3 games of him being back, it sounds like he's trending in that direction. You still have 10 games left here. So there's an opportunity for Jared Bednar and Gabe, when he's ready, to be sprinkled back in that lineup.
No doubt. All right, NBA play-in gets rolling tonight. We've got the schedule here. Cleveland and Brooklyn will kick things off, the 7-8 out in the East, followed by the Clippers in Minnesota, 7-8 out in the West. The play-in tricky is a little weird because you think it'd be 7-10, 8-9. But it's 7-8 because if you win the 7-8, you're in. And if you lose the 7-8, you still get another chance to play the winner of the 9-10. We'll see those games tomorrow. Charlotte, Atlanta, San Antonio, New Orleans. You lose the 9-10, you're done. Your season's over. You win the 9-10, you got to win a second one to get in. So a little bit of a quirky format, but we'll do those 7-8 games tonight. Figure out the 7 seed in the West. Figure out the 7 seed in the East. Zach, who do you like in these 2 games? Nets, Cavs. And then Timberwolves Clippers, to me, is maybe the more interesting one. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on that because the Timberwolves are slight favorites, but the Clippers with Paul George obviously have more experience.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Cavs tonight. I think they're the way that they have operated is a little bit more organic. First of all, I can't believe the Nets are in the play-in. I cannot believe that. But you go to the Minnesota Clippers match, the Clippers are a sneaky team to keep your eye on. They haven't been healthy throughout the year. They're getting healthier now. But the group that was playing without Paul George still found ways to win games. And, they have a nice complement of younger guys, but with some savvy veterans. So I like the Clippers as well tonight to beat the Timberwolves.
So you're taking both road teams this evening. That would set up 7-2 matchups in the East of Cavs Celtics and Clippers Grizzlies. And that Clippers Grizzlies matchup would be really intriguing if that were to happen because, my logic of saying they have a little more experience. Well, the Grizzlies only played 5 last year, got swept by the Jazz. Do you think either of these teams could go then pull an upset in the first round if your predictions come true tonight?
Ultimately, no. I'm tempted to say yes, but ultimately, no. I'll go with the teams, especially Memphis. And I don't know how many of our listeners have been able to watch Memphis, but that is if I'm paying for a ticket to watch a basketball team, man, Ja Morant, electric. But even the group without Ja Morant, when you're talking about JJJ or Desmond Bane, dudes get after it. They are young. They are hungry. I know they don't have a ton of experience to draw from. I understand that. But that is a hungry young lion, and I would not want to play Memphis.
Man, and if the Nets lose tonight, they'll be playing for their season whenever the next one is. I believe that's Friday night. The Lakers aren't in the playoffs. Can you imagine if our two super teams both miss the playoffs outright? That would be pretty interesting to watch. All right, Zach, well, we hit it all this morning. Really appreciate your time here on Coffee Break, and look forward to hearing you and Stoke tomorrow back in the regular time slot from 11 to 2.
Will, thank you very much, man, for having me. Appreciate you.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in to Coffee Break. One more day of me tomorrow. Rachel will be back on Thursday. We will see you in the morning. Have a good day.